What happens when four poor, idle brothers set out into the world, and each one learns a skill so powerful it could change the fate of an entire kingdom? One becomes a thief who can steal anything without being caught. Another gains a mirror that reveals every secret under the sun. The third wields a bow that never misses. And the fourth? He carries a needle that can sew together the impossible. But when destiny places them against a monstrous serpent guarding a helpless princess, their strange talents collide in a way no one could have predicted. This is the forgotten tale of four brothers, born in poverty, bound by destiny, and tested by a challenge that would shake a kingdom to its core. In a quiet village, far from wealth and power, lived a man who carried the weight of poverty on his shoulders. Every day was a battle just to keep food on the table. But what made his burden heavier wasn't just hunger or hardship, it was his four sons. Strong, young, and full of energy, they had every reason to rise and work. Yet they chose idleness. Day after day they sat with folded arms doing nothing. To their father they weren't the support he desperately needed. They had become a burden. For years the old man endured in silence. He tilled the soil with fading strength, bent his back to earn every crumb, and prayed his sons would one day change. But as the seasons passed, his strength withered, and so did his patience. One evening, with sorrow in his eyes and resolve in his voice, he called his sons together. His frail hands trembled as he spoke words that would alter their destinies forever. "My sons," he said, "all my life I worked to feed you. But now, my body is weak, and my strength has left me. I can no longer carry this burden. The world is vast. Go out, seek your fortune, and learn a skill that will make your lives worthy. I have nothing left to give but this advice: make your own world." The four young men fell silent. For the first time they saw the truth carved into their father's weary face. The truth that time was slipping away, and so was their chance to prove themselves. And so, a decision was made. A decision that would lead them down paths of danger, wonder, and secrets beyond imagination. The very next morning, the four brothers packed their meager belongings. A bundle of clothes, a piece of bread, a walking stick, nothing more. They hugged their father one last time, his tired eyes filled with both worry and hope. "Farewell, Father," they said. "Farewell, my sons," he replied, his voice trembling. "May destiny guide your steps." And with that, they set off together into the unknown. For days they walked, the road stretching endlessly before them. Villages passed, rivers crossed, forests darkened, and still they pushed forward, driven by a hunger to carve out a future of their own. At last, they reached a place where the path split into four different roads. Each road led into a land none of them had ever seen. The brothers stopped, staring at the crossroads in silence. Four brothers, four roads, four destinies. It was then the eldest spoke. His voice was calm, but heavy with the weight of fate. "Brothers, perhaps this is what destiny has written for us. Each of us must take one path, learn one craft, and when the time comes, we will see what fortune awaits." The others nodded in agreement. But before they parted, the eldest raised his hand. "Let us make a promise. 4 years from this very day, no matter where we are, no matter what happens, we must return to this spot. Then we will see who has learned what, and whether destiny has blessed or cursed us." The brothers looked at one another, their eyes filled with determination. They embraced tightly, sealing their vow. And so, with heavy hearts and eager spirits, they each turned to their chosen road. None of them could have imagined that these separate paths would one day intertwine, to decide the fate of a princess and a kingdom. The eldest brother walked swiftly along his road, his heart heavy but determined. He had no map, no guide, only the promise he had made, to return one day with a skill that could change his fate. Hours turned into days, until at last he crossed paths with a strange man standing in the shadows of the forest. The man's eyes were sharp, his smile unsettling. "Where are you headed, young traveler?" the man asked, his voice low and measured. The brother replied, "I seek knowledge. A craft, a skill, something that will help me test my fortune." The stranger's smile widened. "Then come with me. I will teach you an art no one else can master. I will make you a thief so skilled, no lock will hold against you. No eye will ever see you. You will become the shadow itself." The young man recoiled. "A thief? That is no craft, it is a curse. Theft brings only disgrace and death. I will not hang from the gallows for such a skill." But the man leaned closer, whispering like temptation itself. "No one will ever catch you. Your hands will be quicker than sight, your footsteps lighter than air. You will be a thief no prison can hold, no guard can catch. You will be untouchable." The eldest hesitated. His heart warned him of danger, but his mind whispered of power. In the end, curiosity triumphed, and so he stayed. Days became weeks, and the mysterious man trained him with ruthless precision. Silent steps, invisible hands, eyes that saw weakness in every lock and door. Until finally, the brother had become a master of shadows. When his training ended, his teacher placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Now you are unmatched. The world itself will never know you walk among them." The brother walked away. No longer just a poor man's son, he was now a master thief, holding a secret skill that could shape destinies. But destiny, as he would soon learn, had far greater plans for this forbidden gift. While the eldest learned to walk in shadows, the second brother followed his own road, long, winding, and filled with silence. For days he wandered, unsure of where his fortune would come from, until one morning he met a man dressed in flowing robes, his eyes deep and knowing, as though he carried the secrets of the stars themselves. The man stopped him and asked, "Young traveler, where do you go in such haste?" The brother answered, "I seek to learn a craft, something rare, something that will give my life meaning." The man's lips curved into a mysterious smile. "Then you have found the right teacher. I will show you the art of astrology. With it, you will see what others cannot. You will learn to read the heavens, uncover hidden truths, and pierce through the veil of mystery." The young man's eyes widened. "Astrology? To read the future in the stars?" "Yes," the man replied. "The stars, the skies, the earth itself, all will open their secrets to you. Once you master this art, nothing will remain hidden." Eager and curious, the brother agreed. Under the man's guidance, he studied day and night, memorizing the dance of the constellations, learning the secrets of time and fate. He became so skilled that even his teacher marveled at his progress. At last, when the training was complete, the man handed him a gift, a small, gleaming mirror. Its surface shimmered like water under moonlight. "With this," the teacher said, "you will see everything, whether it lies upon the earth or in the skies above. No secret will be hidden from you." The young man held the mirror carefully, awestruck. It was more than just glass. It was a window into every hidden corner of the world. Thanking his master, he set off again, the mirror close to his heart. He did not yet know that one day this very object would reveal something so shocking. It would decide the fate of a princess. Far away on another road, the third brother pressed forward with steady steps. His spirit was restless, his heart hungry for something bold, something that would test his courage. One afternoon, deep in the wilderness, he crossed paths with a rugged man carrying a bow upon his back and a quiver full of arrows at his side. The man's eyes were sharp, his movements quick, like a predator always ready to strike. "Where are you hurrying, young man?" the hunter asked, his voice firm and steady. "I have left my home," the brother replied, "to learn a skill that will shape my fortune. Something strong, something worthy." The hunter smirked. "Then come with me. I will teach you the art of hunting. Under my training, your hands will never tremble, your aim will never fail. Whatever you set your eyes upon, whether bird, beast, or even a flying arrow, you will strike without missing." The brother's curiosity flared into excitement. "A bow that never fails." "Not the bow," the hunter corrected. "The hand that wields it." So the young man stayed, and the hunter trained him with relentless discipline. From dawn until dusk, he practiced his aim. Moving targets, distant targets, impossible targets, none escaped his arrow. His teacher drove him to exhaustion, yet each day his skill grew sharper, his precision deadlier. Finally, when the training was complete, the hunter placed a bow into his hands. Its wood was polished, its string taut with power. "This bow is yours now," the teacher declared. "With it, you will never fail. No beast will escape, no enemy will survive. But remember, power can protect or it can destroy. The choice will always be yours." The brother bowed with gratitude, clutching the weapon that promised unfailing victory. He left with confidence burning in his chest, not yet knowing that one day, this very bow would face a creature so fearsome, its strike would decide the fate of all his brothers. The youngest of the four brothers was slower in his journey, while the others sought strength, stealth, or knowledge. his heart leaned toward something quieter. For many days he wandered until, in a small town, he came across a workshop where the sound of clinking scissors and the hum of a spinning wheel filled the air. Inside sat an old tailor, his hands moving with a speed and grace that seemed almost unreal. He was stitching two pieces of torn cloth together, but when his needle passed through, the fabric looked as though it had never been cut at all. The young man stopped in amazement. "Master, what art is this?" The old tailor looked up with a knowing smile. "It is the art of sewing. With a needle and thread, one can bring together what was torn, repair what was broken, and restore what was lost." The brother's eyes shone. "Teach me, for my heart tells me this is the craft I must master." So he stayed, learning day after day. At first his stitches were clumsy, his fingers sore, but with patience and care he grew skilled. He learned how to mend fine silk so it looked untouched, how to weave strong seams that no blade could tear. His hands became steady, his work flawless. At last, the old tailor gave him a needle unlike any other. It glimmered with a faint golden light. "This," the master whispered, "is a gift. With this needle you can sew not only cloth, but things far greater. You will one day discover its true power. To mend not just garments, but even the wounds of flesh, perhaps even life itself." The young brother held it carefully, his heart swelling with awe. He could not yet imagine how such a simple tool would one day decide the destiny of a princess and the honor of his entire family. With gratitude, he set out once more, the magical needle hidden safely in his pocket, unaware of the great trial waiting ahead. Months had passed, and at last the four brothers returned to their father's house. Each carried himself with quiet pride, for each had mastered a craft unlike any other. The eldest spoke of his time in the shadows, where no eye could catch him. The second shared tales of hidden wisdom, of secrets seen through the clearest glass. The third flexed his mighty arms, boasting that no beast or man could match his strength. And the youngest, smiling softly, revealed the needle that could mend any tear, no matter how great. Their father listened with tears in his eyes. For the first time, he felt his sons had shed their idleness and grown into men of worth. But just as the family rejoiced, troubling news spread through the kingdom. The king's only daughter, the jewel of the land, beloved for her grace and kindness, had been taken. A monstrous dragon had carried her away to a far-off mountain, and no one dared approach its fiery lair. The king, in his grief, made a desperate promise. "Whoever rescues my daughter shall have her hand in marriage, and half my kingdom besides." Whispers of this vow swept through the land, reaching even the brothers' ears. Their hearts burned with purpose. This was the chance to prove their skills, not in boastful words, but in a deed so great that it would echo through generations. They looked at one another, determination in their eyes. "Let us go together," said the eldest. "For alone we may fail, but united we cannot be broken." And so, the four brothers set out once more, not for gold or glory, but for a princess in peril, and a destiny waiting to be written. The journey to the Dragon's Mountain was long and treacherous. The four brothers pressed on, knowing that every hour might mean danger for the princess. When at last they reached the jagged cliffs, the second brother, the one with the crystal glass, lifted it to his eyes. The lens shimmered, and through it he saw the truth. Deep in a cavern high upon the mountain, the dragon coiled around the princess, its breath a furnace of smoke and flame. She sat trembling, chained, her eyes full of silent prayers. "There she is," he whispered, lowering the glass. "But the beast does not sleep. We must be careful." The eldest brother stepped forward, his body seeming to dissolve into the air. With the gift of invisibility, he scaled the rocks unseen, slipping past the monster's burning gaze until he reached the cavern's mouth. Inside, he moved like a shadow, and with steady hands, he broke the chains that bound the princess. But the dragon stirred. Its fiery eyes flared open, and with a roar that shook the mountain, it lunged. At that moment, the third brother leapt into action. His mighty strength carried him up the rocks, and with bare hands he grappled the beast. The clash was terrible. The dragon's claws ripped the stone, its tail cracked like thunder. But the brother's power held fast, keeping the creature at bay. "Run," he shouted. "Take her away." The invisible brother guided the princess down the rocks, but in their haste, a boulder struck her side. She collapsed, blood staining her gown. Her life slipped away with each shallow breath. Despair swept over them, until the youngest brother rushed forward, clutching his glowing needle. With trembling hands, he sewed the torn flesh as though it were silk, weaving life back into her veins. Slowly, color returned to her cheeks, her breath grew steady, and her eyes fluttered open. The princess lived. Together, the four brothers carried her away as the dragon, exhausted by battle, collapsed in defeat. When they returned to the king's palace, the people cheered as if the sun itself had risen after a long night. The princess stood radiant once more, safe and whole. But now a question loomed. Which of the brothers had truly saved her? The brothers stood proudly before the king, the princess at their side, her beauty shining brighter than ever. The great hall fell silent as all awaited the ruler's decision. The eldest stepped forward. Without my skill, she would still be chained in the dragon's lair. The second raised his glass. Without my vision, none of us would have found her at all. The third clenched his fists. Without my strength, the dragon would have devoured us all where we stood. And the youngest held up his needle, glowing faintly in the torchlight. Without me, she would not be alive to stand here today. The king listened carefully, his wise eyes moving from one brother to the next. The court whispered, each person choosing in their hearts who was most deserving. At last, the king rose from his throne. Each of you has spoken the truth. Each of you played a part so vital that without it, the princess would not be here. But tell me, how can one claim greater worth when all four were needed as one? The hall grew quiet. Even the brothers lowered their heads, realizing the king's words carried a wisdom deeper than pride. The king continued, the princess cannot belong to one of you, for she owes her life to you all. Instead, she shall remain under my care, free to choose her own future. But you, my sons in spirit, will forever be honored as the saviors of this kingdom. The brothers bowed, their hearts heavy yet proud. Though none gained the princess's hand, they gained something greater: respect, honor, and the knowledge that their unity had brought life where death had nearly triumphed. And so the tale spread far and wide, that four idle young men became heroes, not through rivalry, but through their combined gifts. The moral is clear. No skill alone can conquer life's greatest trials. But when talents are joined in harmony, even the fiercest dragon can be overcome. When the king had finished speaking, he turned to his council and declared, these four men may not be my sons by blood, yet today they have proven to be princes in spirit. I shall reward them not with one bride, but with something far greater: land, wealth, and honor, so that their names will never be forgotten. And so, the king divided half his kingdom among the brothers. Each one received fertile lands, loyal people, and a place in the royal court. When they returned to their father's humble home, the old man's eyes filled with tears. Once he had feared his sons would live and die in idleness. Now he saw them ride back as men of wisdom, courage, and strength. My sons, the father said, his voice trembling, you left with nothing but faith and hope. Today you return with wealth, honor, and above all, unity. This is the greatest treasure a father could ask for. The brothers bowed before him. They knew their true victory was not the kingdom they had gained, but the bond they had forged. For though each skill was unique, together they formed a power no king, no serpent, and no fate could ever defeat. From that day forward, the four brothers lived in peace and prosperity, ruling wisely and caring for their people. They honored their promise never to let pride divide them again. And so the tale ends. Not with a wedding feast, but with a greater truth. And so ends the tale of the four brothers. Men who once seemed destined for failure, yet rose to greatness when they discovered their hidden strengths. Each brother's gift alone was remarkable, but it was only when they stood together, side by side, that their true power was revealed. The thief with his unmatched stealth, the astrologer with his all-seeing mirror, the hunter with his flawless aim, and the tailor with his magical needle. Together they proved that unity is stronger than pride, and that destiny favors those who act with courage. Though none of them won the princess's hand, they gained something far greater: honor, respect, and a kingdom of their own. And perhaps that is the truest reward of all, because sometimes life's greatest treasures are not what we desire most, but what destiny has prepared for us. Remember this: a single talent can open doors, but only unity can conquer the impossible.